So today I'm going to talk about 3D sketching. And all it really is just sketching in 3 dimensions. So we've already learned how to sketch in the X and Y direction, but now we're going to learn how to sketch in the Z direction as well. And the reason that's important is because later we're going to use that to create pipelines, to create weldments, surfaces. Okay, you're going to see a lot of applications for 3D sketches. So what I'm going to do now is begin the tutorial. And as you can see, there's no start file because this is something we're going to build from scratch. So I'm just going to follow these steps here, and it's a relatively short tutorial, and we're going to build this 3D sketch. So I'm going to fire up SolidWorks, okay, and we're going to create a new part inside of this. Alright, so it's going to be new part. Alright, make sure to check for your standard and units. So here's the units. There's a little shortcut for the units, or you can go to tools options. Alright, make sure it's ANSI, and then units is IPS, so that's good. Alright, I'm just going to switch to a white background to make it easier to see, and I'm just going to build this 3D sketch. So what I gotta do is first select a plane. So I'm just going to start on the top plane just to reference off the factory floor of this machine. And I'm going to hit sketch, and this is very important. You got to pick 3D sketch. It's not a regular sketch. It's 3D sketch. You can even type in 3D sketch. So that's a very common mistake. Yeah, so it's very important to pick 3D sketch, otherwise you're not going to be able to go in the Z direction. So now we're going to create a center rectangle to simulate the floor of this machine. Going to hit escape, and I'm going to start adding some dimensions. So if we look at this, it's a 48 by 48 cube. So I'm going to add 48 inches here. 48 inches here. Okay, and not sure what this is here. Let me clean this up a bit. You know, this is not. You want to make your workspace easy and clean. So we're going to try to align this. And let's see. If I select this, just look to see what's bold. You see what's bold here? It says along X is bold. So what it does is it looks at the closest angle of this line to the X, Y, and Z axes, and it says, alright, I recommend that you align it to the X axis. So it anchors it to the X axis. And as you can see, when I do that, my sketch is now fully defined. It's all black. So since this is the floor, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to select these lines here, and I'm going to set them for construction so that they don't become part of the machine. Because on the next lecture, I'm going to turn this 3D sketch into a weldment, and we don't want the floor to be part of the weldment. Okay, so that's the floor. Now I'm going to start building the legs. So I'm still on the same sketch. You don't want to create multiple sketches for this. Okay, so I'm just going to create the legs, and I'm very careful to align with this yellow line. You see this yellow line? When you do that, you kind of generate an alignment that fits that line. Okay, it kind of aligns it to that axis, and I've noticed over the years that this reduces errors down the line. So I encourage you to snap to that line. Also, you gotta understand the plane that you're on. Okay, like for example, do you think I'm going up? You think I'm going up when I'm drawing this? I'm actually not going up. You see, I'm going to the side. So you gotta understand your orientation. Every time you draw a line, I encourage you to hit the tab button. Okay, with the tab button, you switch the plane that you're on. So I encourage you to always do that. So 2 tips so far. Align to this yellow line and hit tab to make sure you're on the correct axis. So make sure to rotate. Every time you draw, hold the middle mouse button and rotate. Alright, so we get the legs. Let's take a look. Okay, we get some sort of structure like this. So let's see if we can draw that. This means that these 3 need to be equal. And again, this is just my approach. Feel free to use your own approach. If you want to kind of align the lines after you draw them, you know, there's 100 ways to do this. Okay, so what I'm going to do is now connect the dots. I'm going to connect the dots with these two. And I'm gonna connect this line to this one. And I'm hitting tab also. I'm hitting tab to make sure that I'm on the correct plane. And then we get some sort of structure like this. See, it's kind of at an angle. So what I'm gonna do is look to see what's bold. See, it says, alright, the X is bold. Let's take a look at this one. Alright, this one's alright. Then we have a continuous, well actually, it's 2 lines. Reason it's 2 lines is because on the next tutorial, see how there's a split here? So when you make it 2 lines, the split is going to be easier to do. So I'm going to make it 2 lines. 1, 2. Okay, so that's kind of like the ceiling. This part is kind of like, it's got like an angle, right? All right. So I'm gonna connect this to here. Try not to snap to anything. Don't snap to the midpoint like this. Like this. This is gonna give you problems. You gotta snap to somewhere where it's not restrained. Okay. So this is good. I'm gonna snap this to that edge. And I'm going to trim this off. Now, when you have a 3D sketch, when you trim, there's no power trim. You just select the excess, and it removes it. Okay, moving on. It looks pretty good. I am missing the floor of the machine. So I'm just going to draw another box. Okay, looks good. This is not good, so I'm going to trim it. Let's see if that works. Okay, that does work. So that looks pretty good. But as you can see, there's a lot of blue lines, and if you remember, you always want to have a fully defined sketch. So if we're not sure where it's not defined, you can just drag it and see what you get. So let's see, this is 5, this is 48, and this is 10. So let's see if we can add those values. So you don't have to math anything out. You can just plug in the numbers exactly the way you see them. Okay, so that looks good. And as you can see, our sketch is starting to be more and more black, more defined. So it looks like I need 24 here and 30. Pay attention where it's picking up from. See, it's picking up from the floor, not the floor of the factory, not the floor of the machine. 30 and 24. 30 and 24. Okay, as you can see, the 3D sketch is now fully defined. Okay, it's fully defined. It's all black. You cannot drag this. You cannot move any of this. All right, so everything looks really good. This is exactly what the product, the final product, should look like. And also notice how I use the origin here to center my assembly. I did that on purpose so that my planes are centered exactly where I want them to be. You don't really want this origin to be out in the middle of nowhere. You want it to be fixed and anchored exactly on the center. Okay? So that concludes the tutorial on creating a 3D sketch.